people don't know about the plantain gun. So you take the seed head on the stem, fold it over like this, give it one of these.
That might be a sandwich in there, you know. Them blue ones there's right. I see another. They usually don't grow as tall as that.
So tell me what this is, Granny.
It's poke.
Say it's poke.
It's poke.
And what were you saying about when it goes to seed?
I said I don't eat it when it goes to seed. I don't like it. It has them berries on it, them big pods of berries.
Mm-hmm.
You know what possums eat? Birds.
Well, so what would you do with it when it was younger than this?
I cooked it and ate it, and I fried it.
You fry it?
I rolled it in meal and flour if I didn't have bread.
The stems?
Yeah. Well, you can roll all of it, but I usually just cook this in with something else and fried these.
So cook this kind of like greens and then fry the stems?
Yeah. I parboil them before I fry them.
Then
I cut them open and I bread them and I put them in my skillet.
And you call it just poke?
Poke. That's all I've ever heard it called.
Not, some people call it poke salad.
Like you?
Like you. Get after it. Hey, are you throwing it away? You turd. I've been eating blackberries literally off this road my whole life. This road. Before it was paved, it was gravel. Our granny's 87 years old. And that's her way down there. We're trying to keep up. So this is milkweed, Granny?
Yeah.
And you said that you know somebody that ate this?
Yes, broke it up like green beans and cooked it. I never eat any of it because I went to the house to tell Mommy about it.
And why did they eat this over in some other things?
I guess that's the only thing she knew to find that they could eat that wouldn't kill them, and I don't know how she knew that either, so she just went out and...
Who was Mindy?
Daddy's sister.
Oh. Well, I guess she would know.
And that was back, I guess, probably in the 30s, because, yeah, we lived over in the hall.
Yeah.
So it would have been in the 30s. Well, the Depression, wasn't over with in the 30s. Because that started in 29. And there's about 6 of us born during that Depression. So you can imagine how hard that was.
I would imagine so. Bad timing.
It was really, but who knew?
Who knew?
Nobody knew that stock market was going to fall. They should have known, but they didn't.
They should have knew better.
Yeah, really.
They should have held it up.
They should have known. I mean, if they're as smart as they are these days, if they'd been woke, they could have.
If they'd have been woke.
And you said Mindy was literally starving, and that's why she started
They
scavenging.
didn't have nothing else to eat in the house, seriously.
And so they picked milkweed, of all things, because that's all she could find.
They picked milkweed, and I helped her break it. She said she was going to cook it. Like green beans, they didn't have nothing else to eat. And Mommy sent them some meal and some fried fatback, but I don't know what else she sent them, but she did send it down there. So I guess they eat it with their milkweed. I don't know.
Milkweed and fatback.
So
That sounds like a good combo.
and I don't know what else she sent them, but now Mommy already had about 5 or 6 children. And Mindy had, I think, 3 at that time. So, but her husband was very poor provider. He didn't provide.
Well, what was his deal?
He was just sorry. He'd just take off for weeks, and they wouldn't know where he was at, and then he'd come back. And she started singing, and she said, "Now, if I could, I surely would stand on that rock where Mozilla stood." That Mozilla was his girlfriend. That's what she was saying. If I could, I surely would.
I stand on the rock that Moses stood.
Didn't say Moses, said Mozilla.
Mozilla, that's right.
But yeah, lots of times they'd have to come to the house and stay for weeks because they didn't have nothing to eat. So,
You guys grew most of your food, right?
yeah, we raised our meats and raised our... Well, you raise the corn and everything to feed the cattle and the horses, and the pigs and all of that. Yeah, we did. I just never remember but going hungry. Never. I know we never went to bed hungry. I'm positive of that.
You weren't hungry, but you were real tired.
At times, yes. But being
Because what did a typical day look like for you?
Oh, you got up early, especially when Daddy worked away from, I'm at work, you close home till he could go and come. Yeah, you was up before 4 o'clock and sometimes before. And you went to bed right after dark because you just had oil lamps or carbide lamps and you had to save that. You didn't waste that.
When it's dark, it's dark.
You went to bed and saved the oil. That's what Daddy would say.
So you get up way before dawn.
We had to when he was at home and got up to go to work because sometimes he had to walk to work and it was a long ways. Because see, when the gas was rationed, there wasn't but 2 or 3 people down there that had cars. And they could ride with each other, and when they run out of their staves, they rode with the other one, you know. But because they worked in Kentucky lots of times.
What was your typical day like? What did you have to do? What were your chores? What were your jobs?
Wash dishes always come first. First you help cook. And that was the time you couldn't reach the
counter?
You couldn't reach the countertop. And to wash dishes, you had to let the oven door down and set the pan down there so you could, and a powder box turned over and set your rinse pan over there. One would wash, one dry, rinse and the other dry, you know. Yeah, we done that all the time. But
then what? After dishes were done?
I guess it was time to start cooking again.
Start cooking lunch?
Because we went fast.
You were telling a story earlier how you were hoeing the bean fields, and your mom brought watermelon
we was hoeing corn.
Corn.
And she brought that big watermelon up and cut it and had it in a dishpan.
Yeah.
And brought it to us in the field.
And some gallon of what, tea or something?
Of Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid. Wow. I didn't know they had Kool-Aid back then.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
That was their real treat.
Yeah.
And it was the 4th of July. We had to have a treat.
So you were working, and you got to take an hour break as opposed to just a few minutes. We
all sat down and eat watermelon, and we drank our Kool-Aid. Then we went back to work as usual. So.
Yeah. No fireworks for you?
Oh no. The only fireworks that we ever had back then was putting carbide in a cat and shooting it. It was.
That was pretty good.
Well, yeah, but you could get hurt at it too because the one time Dennis put it in a paper baking powder can. It was paper, just metal on each end or aluminum foil, I think. And it blew out the back end and hit Lee, but it didn't burn him bad. So, yeah,
that sounds like a good time.
But Mommy was gone. How comes to do that? We was told not to do that.
Wow.
That was the same time that they'd told us not to ride a bicycle either. Dennis had one, but our neighbor was up there, Carol Lane. And she said, come on, you ride, I'll double head you. Well, I didn't know what double head was. But anyway, I got on in front, and I guess my shoe heel got caught in the spoke and broke my nose. We had to tell what happened. We couldn't keep that a secret.
So you weren't supposed to ride the bikes while your mom's gone?
No, we weren't supposed to, and we weren't supposed to be shooting carbide either. But I can remember one Christmas we didn't have a turkey. And we'd raise our own turkey most of the time, but we didn't have one that Christmas for some reason. And Daddy come home from work, and well, then I'd say I was about 7. And he waited till after dark, and he took baking soda and shined the shield on his carbide lamp. And boy, it was a spotlight when you did that. And I don't know how many rabbits he killed that night, and we had to skin them, put them in water till morning, and we had rabbit for Christmas all day.
Rabbit for Christmas. How'd your mom make it?
She just parboiled them and then fried them.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many he killed because there's 6 or 8 of them.
Yeah. And what'd you have with the rabbit?
I'm sure we had potatoes, but I don't know what else. Probably beans. Because that was 2 things we usually had regardless.
Taters and beans.
But we always had them. I can never remember being out of potatoes or beans either. I mean, soup beans or the beans that we would raise and dry for soup beans. or canned green beans. We
Yeah.
always had beans and potatoes. We always had gravy, and we always had dumplings. Dumplings went in everything. I guess that was to make it go further, but Mom
I love
liked
dumplings.
But I remember the first time the first time I can remember that she put dumplings in soup beans. I thought them was the best thing. I mean, they're so tender.
You've never put dumplings in soup beans for me.
I've never thought about it.
Granny does make my favorite sandwich in the whole wide world. It's a bacon grilled cheese with a fried green tomato on it.
Yeah,
It's
toast.
yeah,
On
yeah.
toast.
Of course,
Great.
on sourdough. That's about the best sandwich on the face of the earth.
We raised our own beef and we raised our own pork. And we always kept horses to work with because then you didn't have tractors and so on. So we always used the horses to plow, to pull the wagon, to pull the sled, haul the groceries in when we couldn't get the car near the house. But we killed our own. Sometimes we would kill 3 hogs a year. And you usually killed them Thanksgiving and Christmas. Daddy always kept one that he called a shoat, be a young, that he might even kill in the early spring. He'd say, well, I want a shoat to kill then because it's more tender meat, you know. I don't like calling it a shoat, but he did.
Shoat?
A young, was about half-grown pig, and he called that a shoat. And you kill them and eat them. You just kill one at a time of them because the weather'd be getting warm. But now, like Thanksgiving, that was usually the time people was off from work that day, and that's when everybody around there killed hogs. And the neighbors would come in and help, and then Daddy and the boys would go help the neighbors kill theirs. I mean, that's the way they've done it every year.
Yeah, it's a big job killing a big
Yeah.
pig. Yeah.
And they'd always, you had to have the water on boiling hot before daylight. Then they'd go out and they could dip that hog in that big tub of water and hang it up, and well, they'd have it scraped in no time. But they would dip it in that water so all the water be hot when it's real cold, and then they'd keep dipping water and pouring over it, you know, while they scraped it, because they hung it up on a rack.
Yeah.
Scraped it. So,
Scrape all the hair off of it.
yeah. When it rains,
Yep.
there's another one.
Get it, Granny. Attack. I think she just likes hitting me.
I just wanted to see how tough you was.
What's the secret to life, Granny? Do you know?
No,
You don't know?
no.
What's the secret to a long, happy life?
Well, I told Ronnie it was living right, and he said, well, that could be.
Just living right?
That's what I told Ronnie.
What's that mean?
Well, I don't get into meanness. I don't do nothing to hurt myself. And I don't drink, and I don't smoke, and I don't run around with them that does when I can help it.
Try to keep good company?
Yeah, when I can help it, I said.
Stay away from the riffraff? There's a lot of riffraff out there, Granny.
You got there.
Growing up, did the boys and the girls have different chores, different roles around the house?
In most cases, yeah.
Yeah.
Until we'd run out of our chores, and then we had to help.
They needed to share.
Yeah.
What did the boys do? Typically.
Like in the winter, they usually the one got the wood and the coal and and fed the horses and the hogs and all of that.
Yeah.
They wasn't always the one that did all the milking, but they, in bad weather, most times they did. But we had to cook and wash dishes and can and do them kind of things.
Yeah.
So, make the beds, scrub the floors.
Yeah. Most of the stuff closer to home.
Well, you didn't have a linoleum or tile. You scrubbed the wood floors.
Yeah.
So, and that was mostly our jobs. Now I can remember, I guess it's when Lee would get in trouble, he would have to maybe rinse dishes or dry dishes.
When he was in trouble?
Yeah. Probably when he was bothering us, I just know he got in trouble.
What was your least favorite chore?
Lord, I don't know.
What'd you have to do when you got in trouble? You never got in trouble.
I never got in trouble. What do you mean when I got in trouble? I didn't get in
Except for
trouble.
that one time.
I was like Sage. I tended to my business
That's
and done
right.
what I was told.
Never got in trouble.
Maybe a few times.
Maybe a few.
And somebody else caused it. It wasn't me.
Did you get in trouble for riding the bike and breaking your nose?
Well, that was Carol's fault. and Dennis's fault because he let me do it.
Right.
He may not even know I did. Usually, you know, stay with you. Yeah, Dennis was pretty strict. You done what Mommy told us to do.
How much older is he?
Dennis was born in 1930, and I was born in 34. Dorothy was born the last day of 31, and Lee was born in March between there.
So Dennis was in charge when
Dennis was
Mom
in
and Dad were
charge
gone?
when- Oh, yeah. And he was in charge. So, I mean, as long as you done what they left orders to do, it was fine. But now if you wasn't, as Ray said, when he said, if you don't do what I tell you, I'll chuck your doggone head. And he did.
he'd chuck
He'd
your
stick that-
doggone head.
He'd stick that knuckle out there. And everybody dreaded that. I don't think he ever chucked my head. Not that
He
I
never
know.
chucked your head.
No, he'd call it chuck your head. He would stick that knuckle.
Yeah. Gotta be like a noogie. You're a heck of a hiker, Granny.
I know I'm taking my time.
I don't know if you're taking your time or not. You're cruising right along.
I mean, I could cruise fast, but it's better take my time. I'm sightseeing.
Sightseeing. So, Granny, you said the secret to a happy life is living right.
Living right.
Yep. Staying out of trouble. Staying out of the wrong crowd. Right?
Tending to your own business if you have any,
If you have any.
and leave everybody else's alone.
Well, what's the secret to health? Long, healthy life. You're pretty healthy. You've lived a few years.
Must have been moonshine hot toddies. I don't know.
You don't drink moonshine hot toddies.
That's what we used to drink for medicine.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Moonshine hot toddies. What was in it?
Moonshine and water and ginger and nutmeg and sugar.
Moonshine, water, ginger, nutmeg, anything else?
Sugar.
And sugar.
You couldn't drink it if you didn't have sugar in it.
And you drank that when you were sick?
Yeah. You always got a dose of that in the winter time, especially if you had a cold.
You don't have any prescribed medications whatsoever. You're 87 years old, still kicking.
I take a B12 when I think of it,
A B12 vitamin.
and I take a Balance of Nature when I think of it. I just started getting about 2 months ago. And not because I felt like I needed them, I just thought they'd be good for me.
Right.
As that lady says, they keep me young even though the years creeps up.
And so are the dogs.
Yep.
And tell us about your apple cider vinegar. You've been doing that for decades.
Oh, for years and years I've done that because I just flavor my water with vinegar. And I really like it.
So it's a win-win.
Mommy always drank it. I don't reckon it's for no reason. You just drink it.
Just for flavor or for health benefits too?
Well, it's both, I'm sure, because apple cider vinegar is healthy,
Yeah,
they say.
that's what they say. Well, I'm ready for dumplings, Granny.
On soup beans.
On soup beans.
Now we can do it.
Soup beans and dumplings. All right, we've got soup beans and dumplings as advertised. I've never had it before, but it sounds fantastic. What could go wrong with that?
Just wait till you taste
And
it.
we've also got some ham, fried ham, and some tater cakes. What do you think, Granny?
I think it's perfect. You've never had a meal fixed just like this.
No, I don't think anybody has.
This is manager's choice, don't forget it.
Whatever the manager wants, she gets.
That's right.
All right.
That works. Would you set it at my place?
This is yours.
On my mat? No, thank you.